Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Welcome to Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.efrederick.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all.
You're listening to Eddie Frederick, where good values make great radio.
Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Oh, yes, folks. Wonderful joining again with you.
to have this beautiful, frank talking podcast. Welcome to Edification. Of course, this is Edification 309, which is a very, oh, tell me about it, a riveting one today, folks. It's our 10th for 2026. And you know what is interesting? We are at the middle of March already for this year, the first year of the second quarter of the 21st century, where so many people seem to be stuck in their ways of the past century, quarreling about the awkward developments and goings on in these modern times, where anything and everything seems to be happening. What a privilege it is to be alive to witness the growth in some, while of course observing the refusal to grow by so many more. It's really sad. But come on, folks, as soon as you enter this room today, please share. Do not ignore sharing today. Comment, like, love, subscribe, follow, so that of course you don't miss any version of this program or anything that I do for that matter. Good? Because Edification does share a lot, and of course my social media pages are all about only positive vibes. Of course, the people who are exposed are not going to think these are positive things. Oh no, they think I'm scandalous just because I have the brawn enough to expose them. But be that as it may, we all have our work cut out for us. So while many of us proceed to involve ourselves with small talk, envy, jealousy, malice, surface level thinking, in other words, life is passing us by. Our life expectancy as a people is decreasing. And right before our very eyes, we cannot even notice that younger and younger people around us are falling down like flies. When they leave us so abruptly, folks, their memory fades so quickly, because for the period of time they spent being able to breathe, it looks like that is all they did, breathe. Too many of our people are not prepared to make themselves truly useful in their short existence. But all they know is to develop the gimme-gimme mentality while waiting on handouts, with no intention to do better for themselves. They sit back and blame someone else, mostly, of course, the government, for their lack. We are all hearing a lot more noise of late, and as the election cycle warms up even more, you will hear a lot more noise. Well, that noise will be pregnant with promises, flying faster than a fed truck on a Friday night. That noise will include the sound of people telling you what you want to hear so they can get what they want to get from you. What is that? Your vote. At one point in time, they were warning you about the fallout from the international crisis. And now they are telling you, some of them will join that train to tell you how they will fix it for you. And the international effects of the war in the Middle East will not even matter, because they have the solution. So they have the solution. So let's take a serious look at the impact ignorance can have on the quality of your life in these times, here, so, and now. Remember, folks, when God made us, we were given the gift of free will. God never anticipated that we will just grow in size and not in mind and intellect. For us to be able to use our free will effectively and make the right choice, we have to be smart. But how do we get smart? By associating with the right people, filling our minds with the right stuff. If we go around people among whom we are the smartest, we should be clever enough to realize we need to change our associates, or we will never grow and expand beyond where we are right now. You see, we have to always strive for growth and development. When you are the smartest person in your liming group, it means time to change your liming group. Look at all the leftover minds of the last century who refuse to adapt to the current times and take their rightful places as mentors, inspirers, and even motivators to guide the younger ones. Many of them have positioned themselves with the hopes of returning to treat you, young people, the same way they treated your parents. Dumb them down and capture them for the cult, leaving them to live with a struggling existence. You are called upon to break the spell, break the curse of that entanglement, and free yourselves so that you can make the right choice to be properly ensconced in a better future for yourselves. Gone are the days when you will be expected to settle for crumbs off the table of the gluttons of our society, who can only be described as cane cutters gone wrong. This is the second quarter, as I told you folks, of the 21st century. Time to wake up and declare, enough is enough. No going back. Forward, onward, upward. But here's the thing I have been turning over in my mind as I walk for my regular daily exercise. As I scroll through my feed, as I sit viewing the comments on the select few cutouts of live streams, and of course general posts which well-meaning people would share from time to time with me, we keep talking about the problems. The roads, the jobs, the light bill, the cost of living. But what are we doing after talking? Nothing. We keep on doing the same thing over and over, getting the same results, and proceeding to complain as a stuck record. But we are missing the root. The thing that makes all the other problems worse, folks, the root. The thing that keeps us spinning our wheels. Today, we're not talking about potholes. We're not talking about who said what in Parliament last time they fumbled through their various scripts. We're talking about the disease that makes potholes look like scratches. We are talking about ignorance. And our Creole word for that is jackassness. Ignorance, jackassness. And before you tune out, before you say, oh, it calling us stupid, hold on. Not so fast. Don't go so fast. You're going to miss. Because I'm not calling anybody stupid. I'm calling all of us exposed. Exposed to stupidity. Haven't you noticed how brave the stupid have become to the point where they no longer pay any reverence to the old saying, it is better to shut up and thought a fool than to speak up and remove all doubt? Old wise people of times gone by used to say, if you don't know, you'll be told. And in 2026, in the age of the algorithm and the political soundbite, being told is dangerous business. I believe it was Voltaire who said, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. A single fool can be ignored, but a crowd of fools becomes a storm that drowns reason. Their certainty is deafening, their ignorance contagious, and their unity can appear stronger than truth itself. Decisions made by the unthinking become law. Oh, yes. The morality of unsteady societies like ours, this one that we right here live in, this one that has descended into this kind of abyss between 1995 and 2022, for the most part, societies like ours bend to the loudest voices. Disasters are celebrated as victories. Intelligence becomes invisible against the weight of numbers. Insight crushed beyond applause. You know, wisdom is usually mocked by consensus. Exactly what we are experiencing here in Grenada as a result of the terrible effects of the period 1995 to 2022, for the most part, presided over by the biggest con man and a gang for the longest while. Isn't that sad, folks? Our civilization has fallen and continues to fall even lower and lower. Not to enemies at the gate, but to the collective blindness within. Never assume intellect alone can resist the force of a united, unthinking mass. Folks, it would grind clarity to dust. You see, the malady must be defined. It's not just not knowing. Oh no. Let's start with a profound quote that was chosen for our topic today. And this isn't from a politician. This isn't from a party manifesto. This is just truth as espoused by Professor Patrice Lumumba, that Pan-Africanist, that legal luminary out of Kenya. One of the greatest maladies in human affairs is ignorance. The only vaccine against manipulation is acquisition of knowledge. Folks, come a little closer. Come to the front. If your hair is in good, come to the front. Those of you who love to remain in the back, come a little closer. I will say it again as you come from the back a little closer to the front. One of the greatest maladies in human affairs is ignorance. And too many Grenadians volunteer to stay in a state of perpetual ignorance. Now look at that word, malady. It's not a mistake, not an accident. A malady really is a sickness. It is a disease. When you have a malady, you are unwell. You are weak. You are vulnerable. And when a population is vulnerable, it gets sick. Sick, just like the one that resulted from 1995 to the 2022 period. In fact, the more vulnerable you are, is the shorter your lifespan or life expectancy. Look at the various ages under 65 and 70 that many of our people are leaving us, dying to leave us today. Our population is easy to enter states of fear because many of our people have never been encouraged to have a larger vision of themselves and who they are. Our population gets sick with division easily. It gets sick with a kind of paralysis that stops a nation from moving forward meaningfully. You see, we think ignorance is just not knowing something. Oh no. If you don't know the capital of Venezuela is Caracas, folks, that's trivia. That's harmless. If you don't know the difference between St. George, the parish, and St. George's, the town, that's also harmless. But I'm talking about the ignorance that makes a man vote against his own paycheck, his own pension, his own regularization within the service, and his own proper pay grade as a member of the security forces. His own increase in the minimum wage because a Facebook post by a faceless, nameless monster, or even a Juve-looking Barbie, told him the man that won all those rights for him is a demon. That is the kind of jackassness, ignorance we're talking about. I'm talking about the ignorance that makes a woman burn with anger at a community project because she never went to a meeting where it was explained. I am talking about the slander of a dunderhead who accuses people with means of going to hotels and eat and drink at the expense of the government, ignoring that these people operate at a level much higher than they are ever capable of operating at on their own, without government or anyone else having to foot their bill. I am talking about the ignorance and stupidity of those who operated in the past, as if given any similar chance again, will proceed to operate with the culture they are used to, that they are projecting on decent citizens. I am talking about the ignorance that makes a woman who represented a constituency for umpteen years, having the effect of leaving the majority of people in that community poor and destitute, but boasts of being the elected representative while beating her chest. I'm talking about the ignorance that makes people in a constituency come back for second, third, fourth, fifth, and even sixth helpings, while the majority of them still use outhouses, but know how to criticize a would-be opponent who will certainly bring better for them. I'm talking about the ignorance that allows a smooth talker to stand up at a rally, point at a map, promise the moon, and have supporters clapping, without ever asking for the blueprint, the budget, or even the timeline. I am talking about the ignorance that allows followers and supporters to cheer gleefully at their leader, even when he or she mumbles, fumbles, bungles, and jumbles. I am talking about the ignorance that make people, according to a short recent opinion, and I want to quote it, the NNP women use a whole candidate launch to bad talk and talk down another woman on another woman. How I trust in you if your first move is to bad talk someone without telling me what your plans are? Your way of gaining my trust and support is to degrade or pull down someone else? Too many intelligent people in Grenada, and yet all you on this dotishness. Like all you believe the few kissy foot people in the country is the majority. The blows all you get in this time around, there will not be recovery. All you too dirty. Unquote. Short pre-Andrews. I thought that this was just on fire. That is the malady, folks. It's a fever that makes us use enemies, or see enemies rather, where we have good neighbors. Imagine you have a good neighbor, but you're seeing them as an enemy. You have to be dyslexic. You seeing a savior coming to you, and instead you're anticipating is a con man or a con woman because you're dyslexic. Your whole metabolism, your whole everything gone through. Your balance, you need balancing. And here's the kicker, you know. In a highly politically charged environment like ours, and let's be real, we live in one. That malady, oh boy, it's contagious. It spreads faster than chicken pox in a primary school. That malady will have the faint of heart, doubting themselves. Not me for sure. Not me for sure. I'm too focused to allow the noise of the rabblers uncenter me. You see, we want to talk about the manipulators. Who benefits from your fever? So if ignorance is a sickness, who are the germs? Who benefits when the population doesn't feel well? Let's call them what they are. Of course, the manipulators, the dirtinesses of our society. And when you don't take elections seriously, you end up with all kind of dirtiness managing your business. Manipulators are very good at destruction, folks. Oh gosh, they are good at destruction. They are consistent with their messages. They don't come with a sign around their neck saying, I am here to confuse you. No, they come with smiles. They come with catchy slogans. They come pretending they break down crying. They come with party colors and sheen fashions. They even come bearing trinkets to suck you into their web. And then the discarding begins when you find yourself stuck on a vote farm for an overextended period with absolutely no progress in your life. We've seen it before. Swaths of Grenadians destroyed, their future destroyed by that con man who's standing up on platforms, I am told, and calling decent citizens con man. Could you imagine that? The greatest con in Grenadian history, probably Caribbean history, to ever preside over any country's affairs, taking his dirty mouth and ascribing himself and his culture to a decent citizen. Folks, our topic today speaks of one of the greatest maladies of human affairs is ignorance. The only vaccine against manipulation is acquisition of knowledge. So when we come back, we will tell you how the manipulation works. Let's take a little break and we'll come right back.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is EDDIE-FICATION, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during EDDIE-FICATION are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful, folks. Wonderful. For those of you just joining us, thank you for joining. You missed the first segment. And boy, if this were to go any higher, I think there might be some explosion inside here today, because the truth is, it's a wonderful package. The subject today, one of the greatest maladies in human affairs, is ignorance. The only vaccine against manipulation is acquisition of knowledge. So let's break down how the manipulation works. Let's name the strains of this virus. The first strain is half-truth. This is, folks, if you ask me, I will tell you this is the deadliest. They take something true, say a minister's cousin got a contract. That might be a fact. But the manipulation is what they do not tell you. They don't tell you that the cousin won it in an open bid. Because when their cousins used to be awarded stuff between 95 and 2022 for the most part, there was no open bid. The cousin was just given the contract. They did not tell you the cousin was the most affordable, when in their time, their cousin was not, and had a huge bubble in his cost for kickbacks to them for the award of the said contract. They just leave the implication hanging there like a bad smell. Now you're angry and you don't even have the full story. That is manipulation, folks. You should not waste your anger without facts. What about the people who are duly qualified for an assignment, who, when they are awarded, before the ink could dry on their contractual agreement, you can actually see shade being thrown at them in reference like you have a big government job and a fresh paycheck? This time now, they cannot question the person's ability to deliver, but their lolly drain inclination is to attempt to besmirch the person and disparage them to the easily manipulatable public. These same idiots who sow the seeds of division and resentment in our society cry foul regarding division in the society, while hate is only the response to their hate. You know, they're getting hate in response for their hate that they spew like, I would say, one on a Wasa bus pipe. But listen to the strain number 2, the distraction. You ever see a magician? He waves his right hand so you don't have to see what his left hand is doing. You're distracted. In politics, it's the same thing. When there is a difficult conversation to be had about the economy, about the books, about the tough decision, what do? Look over there. Look at what he did 10 years ago when he had his own business. Look at his personal scandal when he worked with so-and-so. And while you are looking over there, the real business is happening right in front of you. Folks, that is manipulation. Alternative has been found for fishermen's products, and that is not to be greeted with positivity, but with objection for their own failings over the period of warning from the US. So everything that they're blaming this government for, it started with them. Look at that nincompoop in Trinidad. It looked like they all went to the same school. Big lawyer, you know. Gone in parliament, using immunity to talk about police, knew Dana Sita Hall would have been murdered. She herself may have known what fate she would have been, you know, likely to suffer or to be subjected to. But guess what? Interestingly, he didn't do his homework. His party was in government when Dana Sita Hall was killed. So he's trying to impute all kind of nonsense on the PNM, and it backfired big times on him. It's sad. Sad. All they are a bunch of con man and con woman. And you decent people packing your Bible and dressing up, putting on lipstick, all kind of nice clothes, jacket and tie. I'm going to church every blasted Sunday, going and vote for these kind of people. These lolly drain creatures. You see something wrong with among you? You all make church look like a sin because it is not reflecting properly on among you. How could you be supporting these kinds of people? The thing is disgusting. It is vexing. That is why all you as so-called Christians can't ask the Muslim societies for bakes. You know why? They are committed. And you are not. You just wishy-washy. Any old thing go. Thief Monday. Injure somebody Tuesday. You know, see how you could insult somebody Wednesday. And you're doing all these nasty things for every other day in the week. And you know to come up for air on a Sunday to go to church. And then you resume Monday again. This country can't go nowhere with this kind of mentality, folks. I remember years ago when Sparrow came here to do a benefit, whatever it is. So there's a little concert for us to feel better about ourselves immediately after the invasion. I remember him saying the Americans didn't do a good job. Because where we were standing and chatting, he said, all here should be seawater. The Americans didn't do a good job at all. All here should be seawater. He said, I see a lot of people that should have been dead. They're still alive, man. He said this country could never make progress with these people being alive still. You can listen to this, folks, and you could fill in the blanks, because a lot of them rose up and became in charge after the invasion. And what did they do? They keep back the country. But let me give you the third strain, folks, the emotion bomb. You see, this one bypasses your brain and goes straight to your gut. They play the music. They paint the other side as evil, as less than. They don't ask you to think, they ask you to feel. And don't get me wrong, passion is important. That's why they ask you to feel. Love for your country is essential, folks. But when they swap your critical thinking for blind rage, you are no longer a citizen. You have become a weapon. And they are aiming you. That is manipulation. You see what these strains do? They thrive in the dark. They thrive in the absence of knowledge. When you don't have the facts, the half-truth feels like the whole truth. When you don't understand the issues, the distraction is a welcome relief. When you don't know how to process information, the emotion bomb feels like clarity. They know this only too well, and hence they will always thrive when they browbeat enough of you to be dunce, dotish, stupid, and manipulatable. So you can remain perpetually poor and vulnerable, totally dependent on them for scraps, which you are easily convinced is a full meal. You see, so one of the greatest maladies of human affairs is ignorance. The only vaccine against manipulation is acquisition of knowledge. Why do you think nobody could take me and play the fool with me? Because I position myself always for knowledge. Not information, you know. Because information, that means I'm mediocre in my mind. Oh no, I corroborate information. And then it becomes what? My knowledge. Because when I could cross-check them, verify them, they become something now I know for a fact. So we've diagnosed the malady, folks. We've identified the manipulators. It sounds bleak, doesn't it? Like we're just sitting ducks, huh? But here's the good news. The good news is we are not helpless. We are not victims, because there is a vaccine. The only vaccine against manipulation is acquisition of knowledge. And boy, do you have access to it, and have you been getting it, notwithstanding your consistent refusal to take it in. Access is available to all. All you've got to do is open your eyes, pay attention. Too many of you are too easily distracted by the fete, the boat cruises, having a good time as a priority instead of ordering your steps with the required structure so that you cannot be played the fool with. Pay attention to that word acquisition, folks. It doesn't say the giving of knowledge. Oh, no. It doesn't say the broadcasting of information. It says acquisition. That means you have to reach out and take it. You have to want it. You have to work for it. You see, a vaccine isn't magic. You have to roll up your sleeve. You have to feel the pinch. You have to let the medicine do its work. It may taste bad, but it is good for you all the time. The people of substance today, who started off just as everyone else, not easily attracted to me, but took the bold step to chance it, are in agreement with the conclusion that I am like medicine. Tastes bad, but good for you. Their bravery and patience have been paying them high dividends today. If you know any of them, go and check them out. I am not in business. I am in kindness. So how do we acquire this vaccine in the middle of this political circus that we're faced with right here in Grenada? Let me give you your prescription, folks. 3 doses. Take them daily. Dose number 1. We want you to go to the source. Go to the source. Stop being lazy. You hear a soundbite on the radio. You see a clip on Instagram or TikTok. Don't stop there. Go to the full video. Go to the party's or even the ministry's website. Go to the official statement. I know it may be long. It might just be boring too. But you know what's longer and more boring? Being manipulated. Because then your goose is cooked. If they tell you the government is stealing, ask, show me the audit. In fact, it is far more difficult for this administration to steal with all NNP operatives within the service still in place to expose them than it was for when they, the NNP, were in office, as they had aiders and abettors at hand to enable that subcultural activity. In fact, when they project their culture on members of this administration, you ought to be sensible enough to realize people can only judge you based on their culture, their way of life. They cannot see you not doing what they would do if it were them. Go to the source. Don't you think that's a serious dose? That's dose number 1. Dose number 2. Talk to your neighbor. And I don't mean the one who agrees with you. I mean the one who is voting the other way, but is not a rabble-rouser and is very civilized about it. In other words, if your neighbor is known to be an intelligent person, a person who can separate issues, and they're not just an old blind NNP, engage them. The acquisition of knowledge isn't just about reading documents. It is about understanding people. Sit down with somebody from the other side. If ever you can find anyone reasonably deserving, that is. Don't argue. Ask questions. Why are you supporting them? What do you see that I don't or can't? You might not change your mind, but you will acquire knowledge. You will understand that the other side isn't a monster or is really a monster. Or the person you're actually engaging is either a silly sitting duck or a monster, himself or herself. Generally, folks, you will come away from the discussion realizing that they are just people with a different set of information, that their intellect has the capacity to convince them they are right about. And when you understand that, the manipulators can't use division as a weapon. That's dose number 2. But dose number 3, demand the blueprint. This is my favorite. So next time a politician or anybody who poses as a politician, one of these failed people in life who looking at politics for their gratuity now, that is what we have here for politicians for the most part. So next time one of them, or one of those who can be considered a lowlife otherwise, trying to make sure they collect, as I said, gratuity from their last chance in life. Red, yellow, green, orange, or blue, whatever the color. Next time one of them stands up and promises you the world, stand up and ask, how? As many are doing right now, much to their chagrin. I was heartened to read a post of Nas, the Empress Andrew on Thursday last. Quote, I always come across posts highlighting why one thing or the other is a problem. And I always read through them. And almost every time the formula is the same. State the problem, blame the government. There is almost never any suggestions to possible solutions. And I am convinced as a people, we just like to run we mouth for running its sake. Unquote. Nas, the Empress, Andrew on Facebook recently. I tell you, people are thinking more today than they ever were. Folks, we need to ask the promisers, how are you going to build that road? With whose money? Whose hands? What timeline do you have in mind? If they can't tell you, they're selling you a dream that can only turn into a nightmare. And dreams don't fix potholes. The acquisition of knowledge means you stop accepting the what and you start demanding the how. And that's dose number 3. Folks, you see what's happening here? The vaccine isn't a single injection. It's a lifestyle, which I've been living now for most of my adult life. It's deciding that you will no longer be a passive passenger in this nation. You are going to be the driver. You are going to acquire the knowledge that you need to navigate these roads. Now let's bring this all the way to this very moment right here in Grenada. We have a ministry with a big, heavy name: Mobilization, Implementation, and Transformation, MIT. And they are tasked with being the engine of transformation, the engine of change. They are putting out policies. They are refurbishing community centers, village bypass roads, building box drains and reinforcing important gaps that join main roads, enhancing communities in general. Those cannot be counted out as nothing, when in truth and in fact, they enhance quality of life for all. They are talking to the diaspora. They are working with the youth parliament. They are just happening in ways unimaginable. But here's the thing, and I say this with respect. A ministry can have the best policy in the world, but if the people don't understand it, if the people don't engage with it, it might as well be written on water. So as we head into the silly season, where candidates are going to come asking for your trust, they are going to ask you for your vote. They are going to ask you for another 5 years. In the case of the opposition, they're going to ask you to give them a fresh chance. When they come, evaluate them and see if you really would like these people to represent you and be your voice in your parliament and cabinet. Reflect on what they are now. Reflect on who they portray themselves to be now. Reflect on how they carry themselves and see if that is the level of man or woman you would be comfortable with representing you, whether at home here or abroad. You see, during the period 1995 to 2022, for the most part, we have had some kind of people appointed to the office of Minister of Education. Therein lies our answer to the state of our education nationally today. All you can say is, oh, Guide, as I love to say. Back then and consistently adjust the memory of the 1995 to 2022 period when it comes to that particular ministry. One in particular comes to mind. No preparation for the position, but just ended up traveling and representing us at conferences overseas, regionally and internationally. You have to hold your head. At the memory, you still have to hold your head, folks. Some of the recollections are abysmal, to say the least. This one used to travel with a trafficker bag, fine bag, you know, the Guyanese suitcase, they call it, as hand luggage, with all sorts of goodies that the per diem was used to purchase. After maxing it out by doing what? Staying in an insignificant lodging or with friends or relatives. At one time, that same one went to a conference in a part of Latin America and attended the opening and closing of this particular conference alone. Only the opening, only the closing. The days between, oh, can't find that person at all. They're gone and shop. You have per diem to spend. Use the period in between to gallivant and shop. Immediately after the closing ceremony, started walking around to each of the participants' tables, each table, to gather all the remaining candies, while justifying same under the guise of the need to bring home something for the children in my constituency. Folks, if that is not nationally embarrassing, a lot of these people need to be brought in the market and give a public flogging, you know. Because instead of coming up to the job, they try to drag the job and the office right down to their level. That is what Grenada came to during the period 1995 to 2022 for the most part. Yet people of that phenotype continue to gather and regroup to present themselves again to seek a chance at leading our affairs. What do you think I should say now? Oh, Guide. There's no doubt that the Deacon Mitchell-led administration has done enough to earn another term. But that's for you, the people, to decide. And you better decide that if you know what's good for you. Oh, man. But don't decide based on a vibe, folks. Don't decide based on a flag. Don't decide based on what your uncle told you at a cookout. Don't decide because someone else told you what to decide. Decide based on the knowledge you have acquired. Have you looked at the transformation projects? Have you seen the work in your constituency? Have you asked the tough questions? Have you listened to the youth parliamentarians? Have you checked in with the diaspora to see if they feel engaged? The next 5 years are too important to leave to chance. And they are too important to leave to the manipulators who were around the precincts of power from 1995 to 2022 for the most part. And the Deacon Mitchell-led administration came around in just under 4 years and put them to shame in terms of things happening. Tell me if after you had to march and get on for your pension under the last administration, if you are not happy today that you can retire from the public service and be endorsed as a candidate for the same party you marched against for your pension. Tell me you are not happy to know that you will receive your pension. And when the time comes for you to collect NIS, you will have that added to your income stream, making you feel so confident to join the same party that allowed so many Grenadians to retire from the service into poverty, to now fight the administration that made a good life possible for you. Folks, God is good. And what do you say? All the time. And we know what is said as a follow-up to that. God does not like ugly. Ungratefulness is worse than witchcraft, isn't it? And that's the saying. So here is my challenge to you, Grenada. My challenge to every young person scrolling, every elder sitting on their veranda right now, every diaspora member watching from afar. Become a knowledge activist. I'm already one. I've been one for 40 years, 40 plus. When you hear something that makes you angry, verify it first, vent second. When you see a promise, look for the plan. Don't just expect cost of living to go down and the cost of electricity and water to go down because the Ayatollah said she will do so. What do you like that word? The Ayatollah. When you meet someone from the other side, listen before you waste your time lecturing. If you find what they are saying not making any sense, switch off and move along with your composure intact. And when you go into the voting booth, go in with your eyes wide open, your mind fully loaded, and your spirit ready to choose, not based on who fooled you best, but based on who served you right. Remember to stay focused. One of the greatest maladies in human affairs is ignorance. The only vaccine against manipulation is acquisition of knowledge. So let that sit with you today. Let it bother you. Let it move you. We have a beautiful country, folks. Those of us who believe in working honestly to earn our keep are hardworking people. We have potential bursting at our seams. But potential is just potential until we decide to wake up, to wise up, and to take ownership of our own minds. Start the conversation, acquire the knowledge, and as always, stay curious, stay engaged, stay unmuzzled like me. One of the greatest maladies in human affairs is ignorance. The only vaccine against manipulation is acquisition of knowledge. Let's take a break and we'll come right back with a lot more fire.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the Country Cold Store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, Country Cold Store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cold Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Oh, yes, folks. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. For those of you just joining, you're late. Well, you know where your position is, at the back of the class. We have a little detention this afternoon as soon as we're finished, you know, because you have to go and listen all over again. But be that as it may, we're happy to have you. Thanks for attending. Folks, welcome back. And now for a little history lesson, which the others who pose as podcasters, whose habitation is deep, deep, deep in the gutter of life, could never provide such educational guidance to you because of their lack of capacity and, of course, clarity. The following, therefore, is taken from my yet unpublished History of Grenada titled, This is My Island, Chapter 10, The Grenada Revolution, March 13th, 1979. The story is told that the Revolution of March 13th, 1979 was organized at a very short notice and with very little time to spare. This has been disputed by others who were involved in the so-called struggle against Eric Gairy from late 1969 to early 1970. This new addition to the tale of these struggles, which developed a life of their own and involved all and sundry from just about every walk of life, was first thought of to climax in the overthrow on 25th December 1973. But it was suggested that the idea be scrapped because, as far back as then, Gairy would have got wind that something was up and the element of surprise would have been lost. Opportunities were sought in earnest thereafter, but to no avail, as the apparent vigilance of the Mongoose Gang, together with the secret police, and many of the members of the regiment and the official police force, were known to be sympathetic to Gairy. No appropriate climax point was to be reached in the ensuing months and years. What Gairy and just about every conscious Grenadian back then was anticipating, with much speculation making the round, was qualified with the news of two ardent supporters of Orel, Organization for Revolutionary Education and Liberation, and the NGM, New Jewel Movement, that concoction, and I will withhold the names of the two people, they were placed under arrest and charged in the United States by the FBI in connection with a trade which was discovered between the US and other leftist elements in Grenada. This trade was in arms and ammunition under the package's sealed name, Greece. The two are put on US $10,000 bail. It was definitely known by some what the intentions of this trade were, and of course, totally unknown to others. By this time, it became clear to Maurice Bishop and his team that hoping to beat Eric Gairy constitutionally may prove futile, a point disputed by many on the basis of hindsight. The New Jewel Movement likened the democracy under which Gairy functioned at the hands of Gary to Westminster hypocrisy and thought force was the only way to replace him and that system. There is no shortage of opinion as to the activities of the morning of March 13, 1979. One popular one stated that leaders of the NJM openly traveled to Havana several years before the coup and had guerrilla warfare manuals and revolutionary literature confiscated from them on their return. This school of thought went on to further state that the overthrow itself was carried out with the help of a group of black Cubans from the Cuban Intelligence Service, the CIS. It was true that the Cuban ship Matanzas arrived in Grenada 3 days or so after the coup, when a regular voyage for a similar freighter over the same distance would normally require 6 to 7 days. At the same time, a group of Cuban military instructors arrived, and a few weeks later, Grenada admitted that it was receiving military assistance from Cuba. In the pages of the Caribbean Sun, Year 2, Issue 6, April-May 1979, there appears an interview with Maurice Bishop. In brief, this interview revealed the following, quote, "The leadership of the NJM went underground on Saturday before the Tuesday, March 13th, when they heard that Gary had planned to have them arrested and detained without charge or trial. Further information reached them that Gary planned, while they were in detention, to have them liquidated. As can be imagined by anyone, over the 6 years the NJM had operated, they had friends in the police force and regiment. Vincent Noel, according to the Caribbean Sun, was the only one who was arrested by Gary's henchmen and detained. This was so because he was at home at the time and not underground like the others. Senior police officers with whom he had personal relations warned him to clear the way before the same night of his arrest. In other words, see how you could get out of detention by hook or crook. The final straw for the NJM was when information reached them that Gary was leaving the island at 1 p.m. on the same Monday, 12th March, to call an immediate underground meeting at 4 p.m. of the entire leadership. The outcome of this crucial meeting was the decision to rise up against Sir Eric's regime. The strategy was based on the element of surprise, hence the choice of 4:15 a.m. on March 13th, 1979. Armed with weapons smuggled from the US, 45 or so party members led by Hudson Austin, a corporal in the Post-Independence Regiment, who had first met Bishop in 1973, when a guard in the prison where he, Bishop, was being detained, mounted a dawn attack on Gary's army barracks at True Blue, in the vicinity of where Banana's nightclub used to be. They cut the entire army fast asleep, and moving from there, they captured the radio station and renamed it Radio Free Grenada. They then took the political calculation that the masses would respond to their call and would in fact surround all the police stations around the island, which were heavily armed. This took up the first 2 hours of the revolution and truly marked the beginning of a new era in Grenada's history. It is reported that only 2 members of the regiment lost their lives in the fighting, a point which is hotly debated up to this day, with others claiming a much higher number. The newly promoted General Hudson Austin joined the Bishop, Cord, and other party leaders in proclaiming the formation of a 9-member Provisional People's Revolutionary Government, PRG. There were few Grenadians who did not greet the news with enthusiasm, an undisputed fact. Folks, we will leave out the rest because the rest really is about the revolution itself, and it's a little lengthy for today. But I just thought I would share that with you, because of people who do not know their history would behave as welele as we behave because we have no clue. This is a country with a rich history. No other island in the Caribbean can boast of our colorful history. Yet for all, our people are totally ignorant of the facts, ignorant of where we are coming from, the role we played as a small, this microcosm of an island, the role we played in the what you call it at the time between Russia and America, whatever I can't remember, it eludes me now. But it's very interesting that we played such an important role back then. And what we're doing now, Mawet, look at the level of people that we have in politics. Look at the level of people they attract to be mouthpieces, podcasters, pens, scribes on their behalf. That could never be the Grenada. If you knew your history, you will never permit these people not even to make a run for you, far less to be running to run your government. Nonsense. I tell you, that's why it's vexing. Thank you very much, Belma. The Cold War, that's the phrase. Grenada played a very, very important role in the Cold War back then. We've had university students doing their masters in international relations coming to Grenada. I know what I'm talking about because I've been interviewed by several of them. In fact, I hosted one from the University of Washington in Seattle, Washington. I hosted one, networked him to interview Sir Paul Schoon, Leslie Pear, Winston White, God rest their souls, Lloyd Noel, another one, the late Lloyd Noel, Peter David. Oh, yes, so that they can get their thesis together. Of course, these people's, that fellow in particular whom I hosted, his thesis is today a book. The name eludes me now, but it's very, very interesting. Good. That's to tell you the role we played. What book you come? Look, Independence 50th anniversary. You could get a philosophical word that Gary is known for. You could get many philosophical proses that Maurice Bishop is known for. You could get something from Sir Nicholas Brafitt. But the longest serving prime minister, all you could find is dirtiness. It's me damn money. I'm sorry, didn't give me more. You can't find nothing philosophical. Just gutter talk, nonsense. And that was the country's leader, the nation's leader, for the longest period of time in our post-independence history. You see among your bumps among your head? Folks, we have to eradicate that kind of no looking back. And anybody that resembles them using the same playbook, ignore them because they're not coming to do nothing good, because they have nothing good in them. Are we making any sense, folks? And that is why they don't like me. That is why they have to invent all sorts of fake profiles to see if they could throw salvos and blows from the dark. But you know what's interesting? Their IP address can't hide. All in the fullness of time, folks. And you'd be surprised to know people I have helped. People I have helped. Could you imagine that? Who are today spouting all these acidic gutter drain nonsense. Isn't that interesting? And according to Kathy here, yes, they miss the pregnant treasury. They want to come to manipulate the treasury. That's what they miss. But let's take a short break here and we'll come right back with the last segment. The last segment.
informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This is Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The strength of views and opinions expressed during edification are not necessarily a reflection or representation of the sponsors and/or affiliates of this program.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the country cold store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, country cold store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
You're tuned to Eddie Frederick, where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
Wonderful. So this is our final segment. So make sure you don't miss a word, because this one, this one has some real pepper in it. Wonderful, folks. So just give me a minute. Let me line it up here. There's something that went a little awry here, but that's okay. That is okay. Let me make sure. Yes. So the area that I want to touch on now, folks, is just for your information, for your, what should I say? It's really for you to become wise, to understand that we live, our life goes in cycles. When we are reaching the age of majority, where we can retire or ought to retire, we're supposed to know when our time is done. We're supposed to slip into another groove. Not the groove to be the center of attraction, but the groove to be a consultant, an advisor, a mentor, an inspirer, motivator. You know, we shift gear. But when we do not have a concept of enough, biology is still taking place, folks. So when you are operating appropriately, the effects of biology on you will not attract scorn, will not attract, what should I say, ridicule. Does cognitive decline manifest itself in the order of how someone places his thoughts in a public delivery? Hey, that's a serious question. The answer to which is absolutely. You see, the way a person structures their thoughts during public speaking, especially off the cuff, or even in writing, is often one of the earliest and most noticeable indicators of cognitive decline. This happens because executive functions, the high-level cognitive processes managed by the brain's frontal lobes, are responsible for organizing, sequencing, and even planning our thoughts. When these functions begin to decline, the logical architecture of speech and writing is often the first thing to show strain. So here's how cognitive decline can manifest in the order of delivery of your thoughts. Tangentiality, the loss of linear narrative. A healthy speaker follows a linear path: introduction, supporting points, conclusion. But how does this manifest itself really? The person may start a story, but then they go off on a tangent, a side story, and completely fail to return to the original point. This is sometimes called tangentiality. The listener is left wondering, what was the point of that story? An example of that: attempting to explain a political view, but spending 5 minutes describing what the weather was like on the way to the polling station, without ever connecting the weather to the political point. The second area is talking around the point. It's called circumlocution, talking around the point. Now, when the brain struggles to retrieve the specific word or concept needed, the speaker may talk around it. How does that manifest itself? The speech becomes filled with vague filler words. Thing, stuff, yeah, right, you know. As the speaker attempts to circle the idea they can no longer directly access. The logical flow is interrupted because the brain is busy searching for a word instead of moving to the next point. Derailment or loose associations. You see, this is a step beyond tangents. The speaker jumps from one idea to another that is only vaguely related or completely unrelated without realizing the connection is missing. But how does that manifest itself? It manifests itself when the audience cannot follow the logical thread because, to the speaker, the internal connection has been lost. It feels like the speaker is jumping between train tracks randomly. One such example could be, I need to talk about the budget. You know, budgets remind me of shopping. I went shopping yesterday and saw the most interesting bird. Can't you see? The thought has been derailed. What about difficulty with abstract reasoning? Public delivery often relies on metaphors, hypotheticals, and understanding the big picture, so to speak. So how does that manifest itself? The speaker may become overly literal or concrete. They might get stuck on a minor specific detail and be unable to zoom out to the general principle they were supposed to discuss. The order of their thoughts prioritizes small details over the main argument. But then there's preservation, getting stuck. The brain's shifting ability declines, making it hard to move from one topic to the next. How does that manifest itself again? The speaker repeats a point, a phrase, or an idea multiple times within the same speech, even after the conversation has logically moved on. The return to the stuck thought because the brain cannot switch gears effectively. What about disorganized structure? This one we're seeing a lot. In writing or prepared speeches, you might notice, or even off-the-cuff deliveries, poor sequencing. Instructions are given out of order. Example, telling someone how to bake a cake by describing the frosting before the flour. Inclusion of irrelevant details. The person cannot filter out extraneous information. So the main point gets buried under a pile of unrelated rambling facts. Seriously missing out on orderly thoughts. In this way, the speaker says something, leaving the punchline out in the areas most suited for it, and ending up speaking things that could be taken anyhow, which can be used against him or her. An example of this happened recently, folks, with a man who has no concept of enough, bringing into sharp focus his likely, and to many, obvious cognitive decline. This can only get worse as time progresses, and such individual insists on making speaking appearances, serving to damage the organization's image as a want-to-be serious organization. You all want to hear a clip? Let me just share a clip here for you so you'll understand what I'm talking about.
I'm telling you, what I see now in this country is far better politically than any other time that I have been involved in the politics of this country because of the actions and inactions of this present government. So I'm very pleased.
You want to hear it again, folks? I think we need to hear that again.
I'm telling you, what I see now in this country is far better politically than any other time that I have been involved in the politics of this country because of the actions and inactions of this present government. So I'm very pleased.
What is that? You see, this is not shared to besmirch anyone, but to reflect through research findings that help us to conclude that when one does not have a concept of enough to know when to leave the dance, his or hers or herself could only attract ridicule from the unkind. These folks, we all have to remember to be appropriate with our changing times and chapters in our lives. We open, we proceed to the zenith of our career, and then we close by knowing when to bow out gracefully and totally, being able to keep our reputation intact, guided by a character steeped in integrity. So while these various changes in speech patterns can indicate cognitive decline, such as in mild cognitive impairment or early stage dementia, they can also be caused by other factors like severe fatigue, stress, anxiety, or hearing loss, or just plain not knowing when to sit down because your time is over. A single instance of disorganized speech is normal. A persistent pattern of decline in the complexity and order of someone's public delivery is what raises grave concern. How many clips do we have to that effect? Now you tell me which one of the many podcasters on offer today, especially as presented by the annoyingly poor elements over there, take time to do what I do to help you to truly enhance your thinking and change lives for the better through genuine awareness. Tell me which one of them. They are agents of manipulators. That's what they are. Folks, the people who are usually mad at me for consistently speaking the truth are those who insist on living a lie. Truth only threatens people who profit from a lie. If the truth makes you mad, it is because it hits something for real. People don't hate the truth. They hate what it exposes of them. Truth only pisses off those who serve up a regular diet of BS or trash and get exposed. If the truth makes you mad, it is because it stepped into your lie and diminishes it. Real talk only hurts when you are as fake as all hell. The truth ain't rude. You are just built on BS and garbage. I speak facts, and you interpret it as an attack just because you were exposed. Don't get mad at me because the truth cracked your mask. Truth never needs to yell. Those with lies are usually the ones screaming. If honesty feels disrespectful, then you've been lying dirty, and you've been living dirty too. I am never disrespectful. I'm just not lying to make you comfortable. Truth always hits hard when your whole story is fake. Only those living a lie call the truth disrespectful. Truth always feels like violence to people built on deception. Truth does not offend, folks. Exposure does. We have to all learn to stay away from people who benefited from you but proceed to act like if you never did anything for them. Grenada is the factory for people like that. Actually, you were a blessing that they took for convenience. Now let them experience life without the help they pretended that they never got or they pretend never existed. Let them call you difficult. The ocean never apologizes for its depth. It doesn't shrink because someone cannot swim. It doesn't explain itself to shallow people. Too many people around us need everything to be easy, predictable, surface level. So when they meet depth, boundaries, standards, silence, even self-respect, they call it too much. Let them call it what they want and never compromise. That is not your problem. That's their comfort zone talking. Depth isn't arrogance. It is clarity. The right people will never ask you to be smaller. They will learn how to swim when they are around you because of your depth. When people who already dropped you for no reason that you know of, when they call or text you, all of a sudden, after a long time, listen to me, folks, don't pick up. Don't answer. Some calls and or texts are not love. They are just the past checking to see if you're still willing to hurt yourself again. Yes, you might be curious about what they might say, but you heard everything already. Ask yourself and be honest with your answer before you pick up or answer otherwise. Are they calling because they changed? Or are they calling because they know you used to answer? You see, sometimes the phone ringing is not love coming back. Sometimes it is the past checking to see if you will open again that same room. That is simply the past, the part of people that you do not want to admit and they do not want to talk about. The problem is not the phone ringing, folks. The problem is what the phone represents. Sometimes people come back because they remember you used to answer. They remember that you kept showing up. They remember you kept giving chances. And when some learn that about you, what do? They start believing access to you is always going to be there. That is why familiarity is dangerous when you are really healing. Familiar does not mean safe. Familiar just means that you have been here before. So your mind starts telling stories. Maybe they changed. Maybe they see my value now. Maybe this time will be different. But the real question is this: did they actually change? Or did they just get lonely? Because loneliness will make people dial numbers they never intended to keep. Loneliness will make someone reach for comfort, not commitment. So if you're not careful, you will mistake someone needing relief for someone truly choosing you. And that is how negative cycles start all over again. The moment you answer, you reopen the door you fought hard to close. The same conversations return. The same marwet and confusion, the same disappointments return. And before you realize it, you are standing back in the same place that you promised yourself you will never return to. Healing requires discipline. Healing requires not motivation, discipline, folks. Sometimes healing requires that you stare at your phone while it rings to thy kingdom come, and ending up choosing peace over curiosity. You see, sometimes healing looks like living a message, or leaving a message unread. Just leave it alone, ignore it. Sometimes healing looks like protecting the version of you that worked hard to grow. Because in the end, you realize that not every call deserves your response. Not every person deserves access to the healed version of you. So you see, some calls are not love returning. They are the past checking to see if you are still willing to reopen the same wound. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is to let the goddamn phone ring. Let the text stay unanswered. Folks, in a recent conversation with a youth, into the last year to be so-called youth, because that person is 34 going on 35, I was told in no uncertain terms that even though that person, do not know the two major candidates in that St. Andrews constituency that the opposition party just launched its candidate for, they would gravitate to Delma Thomas just because she looks motherly and caring. Wow. And further, because she had the audacity to reject the disrespect and abuse that she endured at the hands of her former leader and colleagues. I find that very telling indeed, and that's a young person. My recent posts, which show up MP Delma Thomas as a woman who glows after her breakup from the National Nasty Party, has been evoking the ire of some of her former political associates. Their agitations can be felt in the way they express their anger and hate towards her. Sad indeed. One is generally perceived to have faked breaking down publicly, which exposed some serious anomalies in and around them during the actual dramatic display. What an anticlimax for that charade. You see, analysts are still piecing together the display in the immediate vicinity of the prank-like exhibition. There were some stragglers who came under the various positive posts, which are attracting thousands of views and several comments, to post their disgust with one or two of them, even attempting to besmirch me for promoting Delma Thomas. Could you imagine that? Of course, they have been permanently done away with in silence. Interestingly, folks, none of them has the guts to be real. But they're very strong via anonymity, fake profiles. They are loud with their gutter talk. Any blind person can see they really need sanitizing so they too can eventually glow with knowledge, which will lead them to freedom. Because knowledge leads to freedom. The people with the most self-respect are the ones who are easily identifiable as people with the most lethal cut-off game in life, folks. They will cut you off in a second. They're not sitting there making excuses for people, whether siblings, parents, children, other relatives, or just friends. Second-guessing them and subjecting themselves to manipulation. No! Don't ever give anyone the opportunity to manipulate you. Don't let them manipulate you into believing their lies. As soon as you see anything looking funny, cut it off. Don't let another person back you, back in your life rather, to give them the opportunity to manipulate you again and to lie to you all over again. Hell no. Your cutoff game needs to be so strong. You need to tell them you effed up, you effed me over, you upset me, you said horrible things about me, you and others did horrible things behind my back with the intention to squash my future. You do not have a place in my life anymore. In fact, you have just become the man or the woman down the road. The most infantile, folks, and reckless advice you can give to someone is saying, but that is still your mother, that is still your daughter, that is still your sister, still your son, still your brother, that is still your father. We need to stop telling people that nonsense. Toxic is toxic, whether it comes from family, friends, or foe. Blood relation does not give someone a lifetime access to damage and disfigure you. Staying in harmful relationships with anyone, especially family members, doesn't build character. It builds trauma. That is why so many people are hurt and hurting, because they are continually infecting and reinfecting themselves by remaining too close to the source of their stress, the source of their trauma. When you do not exit the ecosystem of trauma, your situation worsens daily, and over time you become a totally dysfunctional individual. You are allowed to walk away from people who cause trauma and constantly disrespect and try to hurt you. Real love doesn't require you to destroy yourself to prove loyalty. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is leave, or better yet, pray and trust that the trash will take itself out. Develop the habit of saying no, and you will see who stay and who leave. Many people are around us only for what they can benefit, never for genuine love. You understand why no one, and I mean no one, can take me and play the fool with me? I love being hated for my strength of character and focused purpose. Folks, one of the greatest maladies in human affairs is ignorance. The only vaccine against manipulation is acquisition of knowledge. I am in, I am out, I am gone. Thanks for joining. Continue to share. See you next week at the same time, same place, for more extraordinary programming. Until then, stay safe, stay well, remain vigilant, and stay lifted. Stay focused too. Don't let wishy-washy people play on your head that you have to call people to verify. I wonder, this thing they say is true. Who talking? An old thief. A thief cannot see a decent person as a decent person. The eyes of a thief could only see anybody else they're looking at as the same thief they are. And never forget that, folks. Never, ever forget that. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Eddie Frederick or Edward Frederick. No prank, no fake profile, no nothing. You know who's talking, you know who's delivering. Hello, look me. But a lot of people can't do that. They have to stay in the dark to share blows. So you can subscribe, like, share, and be prepared to receive your mental multivitamins as directly as I deliver them to you. Remember, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. I'm everywhere. Enjoy yourselves this coming week. Whatever you do, do it for Grenada. Be productive. You can't build Grenada by being distracted by some dunderheads, old thief, all kind of old, fat cat, just all degenerates. Stay focused, folks. Stay focused. Have a great one. Much love to all of you. Until next week, God willing.
Want to stay informed, get educated, and feel empowered? Stay tuned where information is power.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.
This has been Edification, made possible by the efforts of the Center for Democracy and Good Governance, CDGG. The Center for Democracy and Good Governance is a sound organization established to promote and strengthen democracy.
I want the best for my family, so every meal has to be perfect. Every bite has to say, There's no doubt in my mind that the best in frozen meats and vegetables has to come from the country cold store. Hams, turkeys, sausages, beef, pork, chicken. I just don't know my family is in safe hands. Thank you, country cold store, for being there for us for the past 40 years.
There are some interesting specials available at Country Cold Store's Mini Mart while stocks last. Take advantage of these specials as they assist you to stretch your limited funds.
The Country Cool Store, providing the best in frozen meats and vegetables since 1969.
Need a personal integrity booster shot? Your prescription is right here. Tune in with Eddie Frederick every week. Information is power.
Attention all forward-thinking companies. Sure, you can do with a continuous positive boost to your image and impact your bottom line. If you think training is expensive, try not training and you will experience a perpetual downward spiral in patronage on account of increased dissatisfied customers. Take things into your hands and engage the best at motivation and customer care training with a tried and tested track record. Visit www.efrederick.com now and learn how you can change the atmosphere in your business and improve the customer experience for everyone who does business with you. Spice Island Beach Resort and Belmont Estate are two such local entities of world renown that have benefited tremendously from ongoing customer care, social skills, and motivation training. Training changes everything for the better for any business and every team member. Enhance employee performance through increased awareness and passion for the job at hand. Greater potential in your workforce awaits you through engaged, high-energy training that works. Log on now, www.eddie-fied.com.
Eddie Frederick has got it all. Inspiration, motivation, great advice, and biting opinion pieces as only Eddie Frederick can deliver. Eddie Frederick has got it all.